Hello everyone, my name is Aneuo and welcome to Strategic Archive. If you liked the last one, you'll love this one because it's more RNG garbage. Unfortunately, most of the stages are pretty doable up until you get into Special Archive. So I'm going to make this a very large disclaimer. When you get to here, you're going to need to restart very consistently until you land your debuffs. If you do not land your debuffs, you have to restart. I'm going to probably make that clear once again when we get to the stage, but I had to restart multiple times, an astronomical amount of times in order to land a debuff in order to win the stage. So when you get down to the Special Archive and it takes you over an hour to do so, just know it took me 3. So hopefully that soothes your brain, hopefully that soothes your, but yeah. I have the full guide for you here. I'll take steps through it to help you understand, and that'll be pretty much it. Anyways, hopefully you enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. For this fight here, order does not necessarily matter, but we're going to go ahead and target Delia first, so that way when she dies, their team no longer has a cleanser. But for the most part here, this should be a total clean sweep. For this fight here, you're going to raw S3 RNL, so that way you don't proc an extra attack to push up his entire team due to Rana. From there on out, it should be pretty easy to beat the rest of the fight. For this fight here, we're going to soul burn into BBK just so we can proc the very first immortality. And then, once again, just like the other couple of ones that we already did, this is fairly easy and should be a pretty clean win. For this matchup here, you're going to want to use your skill 2 into Biblis. This is to ensure that she does not proc her passive, and that we can skill 3 freely without it healing up her entire team again. And because RNL does ignore damage share, we also do not have to worry too much about this though. From here, Cavill should push up. And then we're going to want to use our skill 3 into the Estelle. This way we can kill his mitigation. But now with the Salome copy, we can now copy Cavill and do it again. For some reason in class 1 here, RL's S2 does not do that much damage, so I just recommend just skill 3ing here without doing the S2. And this should proc both Cez and Dildred. And you can freely use your skills on your Vildred if he goes first, but as for Cez, you're going to make sure to send his skill 3 into Ross. Here we're going to skill 2 into Yulha, this way we can proc her passive on the first turn. This should push us up because the Yulha had no buff since we struck it. And then we'll just skill 3. Since we have swift attack buff, we're just going to skill 3 with Lua here. And just raw S-rate with Ross. Yulha revives, but is it okay? We'll just finish it off with the rest of our characters. In this fight here, we want to make sure not to skill 3 with RNL. If we skill 3, we're going to proc Bride Senya, which is going to give him a pretty thick barrier, which makes it hard for Ross to do his job. We did get a dual attack, but fortunately it doesn't really do anything, and where it doesn't really change the outcome of the match, so you don't need to worry. We're just going to copy Ross, and then we're going to skill 3. Welcome to Special Archive. This is where if you have to keep restarting in order to get good RNG on this fight in order to win. Unfortunately, I've played this fight an astronomical amount of times, so honestly, I can tell you that my best advice is to just keep restarting if you don't land your debuffs. So first and foremost here, we're going to hope that we land a fair. But fortunately our flan is ahead, so it is a-okay. And for let's go 3 here. If you do not push back, you're going to have to restart, unfortunately. You need flan to push back and land a bomb. If you miss a bomb and the scales is somehow ahead of your Shuri, then you're going to need to also restart. You need Shuri to be able to detonate the bombs right after flan lands them. For this stage here, there's going to be a little bit of speed RNG. Preferably you want your entire team to be behind DN, so if you go first, you're going to have to restart. We need Aram to get hit with this AoE attack, which will provide our entire team with Vigor buff and 10 souls. From here, you're going to scale 3 into Arya to try to reset her. Now you're going to go through multiple checks. One, you're going to need to land your defense breaks, and then you're going to need to land your sleeps. If you miss your sleep, your second check will be Decid, which is going to need to land the bombs if you missed your sleeps. Assuming every single target on the right side has a control debuff on them, either a sleep or a stun, you can then push your Arbiter Villager with Aram and Soulburn. Alright, for this fight, there's a lot of checks you need to go through. If both your Aram and your Famir is slapped or stunned, you're going to need to restart the fight. If your Salome gets pushed back, you're also going to need to restart the fight. Ideally, you need this specific rotation to happen. You need a Famir to press S3. This does not matter if it's Salome or the other Famir, you just need one of them to press. Ideally, you want your first Salome Famir to press S3 because that allows you to press 2 Aram S3s. But if given the RNG, you can probably make it work the other way around. Next up, you're going to need Aram to be able to push Ross. And of course, the same thing applies from the last fight. If you miss any of your sleeps or death breaks, you're going to need to restart the fight. Now, luckily, since our damage dealer here is Genesis Ross, you can get away with missing death break, but you cannot get away with missing a sleep. So if you miss any sleeps, restart the fight. And like I said, you're going to push Ross with Aram, and then you're going to skill 3. And if all targets are slept, you should be able to kill most of the team. And based on the turn rotation we got here, because we got a little bit lucky, we're able to use Aram to push Ross again to finish off. Unfortunately, this fight is just complete, utter RNG garbage, and yeah, unfortunately, this is just how it is. Alright, so this fight here is relatively easy compared to the previous ones. You're really just praying that you evade, and that is pretty much it. So, if your RNL evades, the only character that should die here is Boss Arunka, which we don't really care about. She's just here to tank the damage from Hwa-Young, and that's it. Ideally, you will skill 3 with RNL here, and it will stun Politis, meaning she's no longer going to be a threat to us. And to win the match, all you need to do is copy your Genesis Ross, and since the Politis is feared, she will not proc, and then you will just press skill 3. And then once Ross takes his turn, you could do it again. Here for this match, pretty much we're just hoping that our fear sticks onto the Nodos, and that is pretty much the biggest bit of RNG that you'll have for this fight. So we'll slow burn into Estelle and then press S3. That should allow for a large chunk of damage to go into Estelle, putting her into kill range. Then we're going to copy Genesis Ross and press skill 3. With Xeno, you could choose to soul burn in order to get Frostbite, but I chose to just skill 3 without it. Be sure to seal the Setsuka in order to prevent the evasion. If you miss on this turn because of Setsuka's artifact, then you're just going to have to deal with it or just restart the match.